backlash. I would get it in like my Instagram comments. I've got it in like some YouTube community posts. People have been telling me that I have changed. Yes, you might be looking at me crazy. You clicked on this video to watch this girl get in this bed. Likely, I'm assuming if you click this video, you're somebody who already watches my channel, because this is kind of a more personal video. But if not, my name is Jordan and welcome to my channel. It's just Jordan. This is something a little different than what I normally do. We've kind of got a special occasion going on right now, and I'm not going to harp on it too much because nobody cares, but it's my birthday, or it was my birthday a couple of days ago. And this year I just turned 27, so I'm sharing 27 things that I've learned in my 27 years. I love watching podcasters when they do this, when they're just like casually on their couch looking crazy or in their bed. It's like my favorite thing. So I was like, you know, we are all about the comfy and chic thing, so I feel like this is very on brand for me right now. So take this as your opportunity. This is different from my other videos. You can just play me kind of like a podcast, grab you a little glass of wine, water, whatever you drink, and just sit back, relax, because that's what I'm doing. This is very casual today. Now, who am I to be sharing this information, you might be asking? Hold on. Why I'm qualified to talk about this subject? Have you ever heard when you hit 25, your prefrontal cortex actually forms all the way? A lot of things that you thought you knew before you were 25, you find out you really didn't know them for real. I'm not saying that I know everything, but I'm telling you that I learned probably far more in this past year than I've learned almost in my entire life. I will put in a timestamp, but we gotta talk about some personal things, y'all. I gotta overshare, okay? Because that's what we do. We overshare over here. If you have been consistently watching my channel over the past, I'd say like 6 months, there has been a big change over here. And I was not able to quietly go through this metamorphosis. I had backlash. I would get it in like my Instagram comments. I've got it in like some YouTube community posts. People have been telling me that I have changed. I am no different than anyone else now. Used to be original. I've turned into my mother. That's my favorite one right there. If you go through my feed, it's very obvious that once upon a time I was a fashion girl. And honestly, I'm offended that some people think that has changed. I feel like I'm forever going to be a fashion girl. I mean, look at my literal pajamas. Please, they have feathers on the robe. But I feel like I found a fashion that works for me. I started this channel when I was 22 years old. I was in my last semester of college, getting ready to finish my internship and become a teacher. And I just did this kind of like on the side. I ended up quitting teaching like in 2020. So I attempted to pursue being a YouTuber full-time by the time I hit age 24. Ooh, not me dropping the... Do y'all leave the tea bag inside the teacup, or do y'all take it out? I normally take it out, but I just see so many people leave it in, so I just started doing that too. And I like how it looks. Oh well, let's hear it now. Needless to say, we're going on like 3 years of working for myself, and it feels good. Looking back, I was really trying to find myself, and I really thought I knew who I was, and we'll get into that later. But your girl had no idea. And I'd talk about fashion, I'd talk about clothes, and I'd talk about the new things that I bought. And I still love a little sprinkle of that to this day, but I'm not gonna lie to y'all, there were little flashes like through all those years where it kind of just felt a little shallow. I really was asking myself sometimes, maybe not out loud, but I was asking myself in my head, like, is this really what you want? I know you love style, but like, you have more to you than this. I feel like when you're coming into yourself with age, coming into yourself as a creator, you tend to follow what other people do because you don't really know what you're doing, and so you kind of just end up falling into trends. I honestly found that really funny looking back, because I feel like the type of fashion that I was into and the type of praise that I would get, it would be comments like, oh, you're just so original, you're different. You know what? I was feeling different too. But looking back, a lot of people would disagree with me from then. I am less trendy now than I was at that time. When I was at that point, I thought I was so original. In fact, I think I was like a trend monster at that point. The only difference, and the thing that made it seem like I was like so different and ahead of the game, was just literally that I was a lot of times ahead of the trend. That's all it was. But that's because I was ultra trendy. Like the fashion influencers in New York, and I mean nothing by this. Like, even though they may not be wearing a copy paste same outfit of each other, there's always gonna be kind of a consistent vibe, a consistent trend, and that's okay. But I feel like I didn't realize that until I was outside of it. I feel like when I was in that bubble, I was thinking, yes, we all think differently when it comes to fashion, and we don't do trends. When really, I just felt we were all just ahead of the trend, and honestly ultra super obsessed with trends. It wasn't even about like wearing what made you comfortable. It was about like, I've got to outdo my last outfit. I've got to have the most interesting outfits out there, the most original. And when I tell you, I was spending so much money doing those things, I was stressing myself out. I was spending half my time like researching clothes and things like that. Like, I'm not blaming this, but it's probably the most depressed I've ever been in my life. You guys know I'm kind of more in my slow living, soft life era, girly type of era. Literally happier than ever doing this. So many of y'all say it all the time that I just look like I'm glowing, and I was telling somebody on Instagram earlier today, like, honestly it feels like I'm glowing, like on the inside, not just like on the outside. I've got nice skincare. Like, I feel really happy on the inside. Of course my life is not perfect, but I just feel like more than ever I am doing me, and if that makes me like everyone else, if that makes me unoriginal, that I'm just gonna have to be that, because I just feel like I'm at peace. We'll get into it more throughout all these things that I've learned. With somebody like me choosing the career path that I chose, I literally went to school for 4 years to become a educator, and obviously there's really no educators that are going to school for money. Like, I don't think there's any educators that are out here like, I'm just in it for the money. Because baby, if you're in it for the money, there is none. I think everybody knows that before they even go there. But I genuinely just wanted to try and like make a difference. I loved education. I loved kids. Still love all of those things, but I'm just doing it in a different way. So yes, I was able to educate in fashion, but honestly, it just still felt a little shallow. So now I just like it sprinkled in. And I like to talk about how I'm making myself like genuinely happier with things that don't even cost money. Of course, I wrote everything down in my phone. She's a digital girly. If you agree with any of these, let me know. Or if you feel like you got a different take on some of these, also let me know. Because that's one thing about me. I love to know other people's opinions, because I love to hear people's different perspectives. So for the first thing of the 27 things that I've learned, number one, you don't have to know who you are right now. And this is a message to my 25-year-old self and younger. I wrote that at the age of 25 or younger, don't get dead set on who you are at that time or who you think you are. Because baby, let me tell you, you are probably not who you think you are. I feel like at that age, we're getting up in our 20s and we're like, oh yeah, like I know myself. I've been around the world. And even now, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more that I'm going to learn, but I really thought I just had it figured out who I was. Only for me to get to 26 and end up being very, very confused. I feel like it's a very quiet period when you're trying to figure out who you really, really are, the things you really, really enjoy, the people you like to be around. If you're going through that era, just know it is not going to last forever. It may feel really confusing right now. You might even feel a little bit empty, but you're just sitting with yourself. You're sitting with your thoughts right now, and you're going to figure it out, and you're going to be so happy when you do. So don't get too attached to yourself when you're 25 and younger. Maybe even now if you feel that way, but you also feel like something's not right in the back of your head, you might still be going through that thing, and it's perfectly normal. It's perfectly okay. I hear women up in their 30s and older say that it's still a challenge. So don't think you have to have you all figured out by the age of 25. Okay, so for number two, I put act on impulse sometimes and don't be afraid to do so. I feel like a lot of people kind of speak against having impulsive thoughts and acting on them, but honestly, I feel like it was such a big help in my early 20s. I had a lot of impulsive thoughts. What I chose as my first career. It was impulsive when I decided to move to Chicago where I knew absolutely nobody, just to become a model, which was also impulsive. I feel like in the previous years, I had a lot of bitterness at the paths that I had chosen. Like with me going to school and not even using my degree and now having student loans, I felt a lot of bitterness about it for a little while because I was like, I could have just went straight into this. But I just feel like everything we choose and everything we do is like part of our character building. Some of the things that you are and some of the things that you've accomplished, you wouldn't accomplish if you wouldn't have made those stops along the road that you think are possibly useless. So I'm just over the point of having regrets about things like that. Like, don't be mad at younger you for choosing those things and continue to choose those things if that's something that you want to do, because there just might be a lesson there or you might be introduced to your new path. Okay, so for number 3, this one is a little cheesy, it's a little corny, and it's so funny. When I tell you, I don't think I would have ever been the person to say this, but for number 3, I wrote love can actually be like the movies. Y'all, when I tell you I've had a very warped vision of love within all of like my years of dating, I think I really was just listening to what a lot of people said, and I was hearing a lot of negative feedback from people. I feel like when you hear about relationships, you always hear like, I don't know, just a lot of negative things. And of course, it's not going to always be roses. Like, relationships are tough. One of the things that really stuck to me, and I wish would have not, was the in love, shooting stars, head over heels for your partner feeling is not a real attainable thing. It's just something in the Disney movies. It's just something written in books. And your best bet when finding your life partner is just finding the person that you can deal with the most. And for some reason, when I heard this piece of information, it really, really stuck to me. And so I think I always just kind of undersold and underaccepted like what I expected out of love, out of relationships. Why did I think that I deserved anything less than like shooting stars? I don't want to say butterflies because sometimes butterflies can be kind of like a little trauma response and it's really like you being a little too excited. But what I mean is like a really just calm, serene love. Being with someone who really just considers you and wants to go all out for you. And I don't even mean like grand gestures. I just mean like even small things, but really just does what they can to see you happy. Those people exist. My advice to anyone who is searching for that right now is if it feels like you're settling, don't. It may not be right. Love can absolutely feel like the movies. If it doesn't, don't settle. Of course, it's not going to be perfect all the time. But if you're never ever having those moments that you see and hear written in some movies, written in some books, of course not all of them, but like at least a couple, might be a sign. I know not everybody is actually looking for genuine love, so you know, take that with a grain of salt, but for those who are. Okay, so for number 4, I feel like this is something I've been seeing on social media a lot, but honestly it's just so true and something I've been thinking about a lot. Your mom is just a girl. You guys know how I'm always joking and I'm saying like, I can't do that, like I'm just a girl, like why do people expect so much from me, I'm just a girl. And it's been a big thing on social media lately where people talk about like their mom doing just regular everyday things that me and you would do, and saying like when you realize your mom is just a girl. When I got to that age where I started looking at my parents and I was like, oh my gosh, y'all literally don't know what y'all are doing. Y'all have been winging it this whole time. Like, the dismay that I felt, it was insane. But honestly, you have to think about it. When you're a kid, I feel like you think like your mom and your dad, they're just like superheroes. They can do anything, especially like moms. Like, moms literally do everything. So you think they just know everything. And then you get to that age where you see some slip ups, or you just become aware because you are older and you realize they have just been trying to figure out this whole thing too, and you've been asking them these questions and they've been giving you an answer confidently because that's who they're trying to be in your life and they really don't know themselves. I don't say that to undermine like my mother or undermine moms, But I just say that for anybody who might like have like some resentment like with their mother, or like, I don't know, you just require a lot out of a parent. I feel like something that I've had to tell myself over the last years, they're not going to know everything. This is their first time being 50. They are also just winging it. So I say that to say, like, of course at an excusable amount, like, give your parents some grace, like if they really are trying and being intentional. I try like not to hold anything over them. I used to be a little guilty for that, but now I'm just like, my mom is just a girl, okay? My dad is just a boy. They're just trying to figure it out and love me in the process. Okay, number 5, I put know your worth and add tags. Oh my gosh. I think one of the biggest things I have learned, especially in dating this past year, is stop trying to be the cool girl. Have you ever seen Gone Girl? Her husband basically is cheating on her with somebody much younger, and she talks about how she used to be like the younger one in his eyes. She was the cool girl. If she didn't want to drink, she was still going to drink because she was trying to impress him. Just always down to do whatever her man wanted because she wanted to be the cool girl. Only for her to grow up and him to decide that she just wasn't cool enough anymore. My camera overheated. Should I take that as a compliment? Just do a little lip gloss check real quick. Moral of the story, she found out really quickly that being the cool girl was not it. It never helps us to pretend to be something that we are not. But if there's something you want out of a relationship, whether it's from a man or whoever, you need to be vocal about that. You need to accept nothing less. Don't ever like let things just slide because like, oh, you don't want to be seen as like too much, over the top, high maintenance. I'm telling you, the best thing you can do for yourself is go ahead and come off as high maintenance. I'm not a relationship guru, so I won't go too deep into that. Of course, there are crazy amounts of high maintenance. But the thing is, to some people, to the man that is supposed to be your man, it's not going to be crazy, you know, because he's your man. So ask for what you want to ask for, require what you want to require, and don't try to be cool, because being cool is just gonna leave you looking like a fool. And I feel like you can apply that to plenty of aspects of a relationship. When you give discounts, people treat it like it's a discount item. No, you want to be treated like you full price. You want to be treated like you don't ever go on sale. You gotta come already knowing what it takes to get the Hermes Birkin. Don't come with anything less, because I'm not accepting anything less. For number 6, be more cringe. Now this one's pretty short and sweet and to the point, but I gotta say, y'all, I used to judge people for being cringe. And we've probably all been there, okay? We probably all need a reality check. Tell you, the people who are living a cringe life, they are living a better life, because when you are cringe, you just really don't care about anybody else. You don't care what anybody else has going on, what they think of you. You only care about your own happiness. So make it your goal in life to be the cringe person. I want you to make it a goal to have people send videos about you twirling around in the rain, like, and being like, she is so cringe. What is she doing? She's having a good time. She's living life. She's romanticizing things. She's having more fun than you are sending this to somebody else. So be more cringe. For the 7th thing I learned, I put watch a lot less news, take in less media, and that includes like reality shows, drama TikToks, etc. You guys, whew, I feel like with the state of the world over the past couple of years, it has been a expected thing for people on the sort of platform that I have to like speak up and always be involved. And some people say like, oh, you guys should be doing y'all's research so you guys can spread the message. But I gotta tell you, it is not that I don't care about any current events of things, and I've shared some things, but I'm not going to be on my platform sharing every week, because personally, and some people might not like this, I can't even handle the news myself. So you can understand things a little bit better. Ever since I was 6 years old, I was educated by my mother on like Rosa Parks and like Martin Luther King Jr. And as I got older, I had my own interests myself, where I would seek out and learn things about like the Black Panther Party, etc. So I was very, the old school word, woke, I guess you could say, by the time I was like a sophomore in college. When 2020 hit, I think that was my boiling point. That was the point where I had went over, because it was something I was already like researching, was reading books on it all the time. It was so frustrating. It was a point Honestly, I cried nearly every day in 2020 because it was always just some sort of news because you know you're trying to be aware at the time, and I just felt like I was always watching, you know, somebody who looked like me being killed on a camera or something like that, and that's still happening obviously, but I had to take a back seat, you guys. I would say this past whole 1 year I've just taken in a lot less media. It started a few years ago where I unfollowed things like the Shade Room. I don't go on Twitter or look at the beefs that are happening on TikTok. Even when it comes to reality shows, because reality TV can just get so stank and so nasty, I just really try to stay really far away from it. And I know people have joked like people who are empaths are really just psychopaths, but I don't know, you guys. There's something about like just seeing these things. It affects me deeply. These things on my timeline constantly, on the news, everywhere you look. I just couldn't handle it, and it just really made my overall mood and everything just down. I think I was just more of a sad person when I was paying attention to everything going on in the world. Because you have to think, it's not like you being heartless. You really have to consider that how much news and media and things that come into our face, it's not natural. Our grandmas who were always watching the news in the morning growing up, that was the only source of news really in the newspaper that they were getting. But with us, we've got the news. We've got social media platforms that are news. We've got regular people putting out news that might not even be true. It's honestly just way too much, and so I try to stay away from things like that for the most part. I never know what's going on. I get made fun of a lot because people will be like, how do you not know this? And you literally work in social media. Like, the beef with Kendrick and Drake, I had to be informed about that by my friends in real life. I did not know what was going on because I just don't keep up with any of these things, and my quality of life has been all the better for it. If it's not some type of like positive content or something that's going to help me learn and just make me feel better, I gotta keep it to a minimum. The eighth thing that I've learned in my 27 years is if you don't know who you are now, pay big attention to your childhood self. I talked about earlier in this video how I was kind of going through a dilemma. I felt like I was a big age of 25, even 26, and I did not know who I was. I thought I knew who I was, and everything that I thought I was just did not feel right. I feel like a big thing that has helped me a lot with coming to who I am today was looking back at the things that I enjoyed as a child. I loved very artsy things. I was big on dance. I was a ballerina for years. I always loved being outside. Ever since I could read, I had loved reading. I drifted away from a lot of these things as I got older. You know, when you get to a certain age, especially college age. Freshman year, I did a pretty good job at like fighting off the temptation of like giving in and trying to blend in. But eventually, somewhere in me, like, I told myself, you're gonna regret not going outside because that's what you're supposed to do at this age. And this is something that I've dealt with 2 cycles of. In college, and then also again when I moved to Chicago. And I have discovered twice that that's just not me. Childhood me was always a lot more introverted, a lot more shy, a lot more quiet, very close with my close friends, but I was just not going to be the person that wanted to be in a room with a lot of people, and I very much went back to that. So I feel like looking back at the things I loved as a child has helped me in figuring out what I really want in life. Because think, when you're a child, that is pretty much the you that is not affected by outside society. People in society have not gotten to you yet. You have not been tainted yet with the woes of life. So you're really just living how you want to live. So if you're struggling with that, I think looking at your childhood self is probably the best way that you can help figure out who you are and what you love. Okay, for number 9, I put adult friendships look much different and to give each other grace. And I see a lot of people being really hard on people when it comes to the friendship category, but I feel like a topic I don't see enough. Adulting is hard. Having friends is also hard. And so I feel like the biggest thing that I have been trying to remember, and also am trying to make more friends that are like this as well, is that you need to give your friends grace. Like, we are all out here living in capitalism, just trying to make it through life, just trying to stay sane and hydrated, pay our rent, pay our mortgage at the same time. We're not always going to get back to you when you want us to. We may not always be able to pick up the phone. I had a friend reach out to me the other day, and she reached out and she was like, we need to have another yap session. And I was like, yeah, girl, we need to have another one. And guess what? She actually did not respond to when I responded that I also would like to hang out. I did not take that personally. I know that she wants to hang out with me because she is the one who reached out. But she's probably underestimated what's going on in her life right now. I know the intention is there. My friend enjoys my company, but they may just not have the capacity. So I've just been loving friendships that we take like a week to text each other back, and we don't even say like, oh, I'm sorry that I'm responding late. Like, y'all, we literally just be like, hey, are you free on the 27th? And then a week later we're like, yeah, like I'd love to do this, because we do have to plan ahead and we can't really just hang out on the whim. Life is hard, man, okay? And we don't need anybody else making it harder, especially something that's supposed to be as fun as friendship. Give your friends some grace. We're all just trying to make it out here. And also find friends that give you grace too, because you need it as well. For number 10, I put slow and steady can also win the race. So don't chase trends, be you. I feel like an example is in social media. I'm not one of those people that started a social media account and woke up with 100,000 followers. That happens, and that's great for those people. It's also not bad to go the slow way. I'm not saying that everybody that does this gets to these points, but there are just certain lines that I have not been willing to cross and am not willing to cross in the name of trying to get ahead, trying to be like the biggest out. And I'm just here to say, if this is something that you've been thinking about a lot and you've thought about maybe going off your own path because you feel like your path is too slow, keep your integrity. Slow and steady also wins the race, and honestly, it's a safer option, and it's probably better for your mental health as well. I feel like this can apply to many different things, so if that message is for you right now, just take it. Okay, so this one might be a little controversial, but for number 11, sometimes you might be the problem. And I feel like this is something I had to learn a little bit about. Like, overall, I'm a person who is very introspective. I'm really good at looking at myself and figuring out what the issue is, but at the same time, that has also been a problem because sometimes you don't look at yourself good enough, or you may not realize things because you thought you had a certain intention, but other people received it in a different way that you didn't realize you were coming off as. I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable here to give you an example, but one thing that I learned in the past couple of years is how selfish I am. I had many people tell me, but it just took a couple of people like sitting down with me and actually saying to me like what came off as selfish, and then I realized what the issue was. Now, not to get into it too much, but I've realized that times where I actually was thinking of other people, but I wasn't really good at like looking at all aspects, some people may have not felt completely thought about. And so I basically had to break down like that was never my intention, but I just say that to say like sometimes you might have to listen to what other people have to say about you because it might be true. For number 12, and I feel like I've been talking about this one a lot, it's don't save anything for a special day. I used to definitely be notorious for this. I would save really nice dresses for a special day, the dessert that I really wanted to eat for the weekend, etc., etc. I don't do any of that anymore because you're not even promised tomorrow. So why are you saving your special things for a special day? And why not just go ahead and make every day special? Number 13, I wrote have hobbies. This is something I have been delving more into over the past few months, actually. Maybe last year, when obviously I had to talk about myself more to people I didn't know. People ask you, what do you like to do? What do you enjoy? Y'all, I had to get a little bit creative, okay? Because who wants to tell people I enjoy binge watching TV? When you're an adult, one of the biggest ways that you can stay sane is to have hobbies, to do things that you don't make money off of, that nobody expects you to excel at. You're just literally doing this for your own enjoyment, and I think that's so important. Okay, for number 14, I put the happiest people romanticize their life. You can romanticize your life in the smallest of ways. I talked about this in depth in a previous video. Don't just drink your tea out of just a random glass that you have. Like, have a nice cup, your favorite cup, and it's like in your favorite print, and it just makes you happy to look at it. Don't just go in the bathroom and slap your skincare on when you get out of the shower. Light some candles. It's just little everyday things. You don't have to go and buy anything really. Use the nice things that you already have at home that you don't use now. If you have a weekend ahead of you, don't eat your food inside. Like, Spread out a picnic blanket, go eat your food outside. You don't even need anybody there. Bring a book, bring your iPad, watch a movie. I feel like those are going to be the memories that are just worth thinking about, worth remembering. You don't want to look back in 50 years and remember yourself just binge watching a television show. It's okay to do that, but you don't want to have just that in your experiences. For number 15, I put communication is everything. And miscommunication can be honestly a big relationship downfall. Now, I chatted about this a little bit earlier when I shared with you guys that I learned that I was selfish from friends, from family. One thing that I'm also learning now is a lot of those times where people thought I was being selfish were times where I did not communicate what I was trying to accomplish. And I feel like if I would have communicated, people would have understood. Sometimes you just gotta go the extra mile, and it may be annoying to talk about it, but communicate in all your relationships so people can really understand what you're aiming for. That way, if you're aiming wrong, they can help you. But not saying anything and just going on with your life, that's how you get like people holding secret grudges and things like that. So take a little extra time, communicate more with everyone that you care about. Okay, number 16 is simple. If it doesn't spark joy, don't do it. I've said in this video a few things that I was doing over the past couple of years that I just realized I actually don't like doing. And I feel like it's self-explanatory. It made me really unhappy when I would do things that other people wanted me to do, or do things that were considered fun for my age. I was not happy. So moral of the story, just don't do things that don't spark joy in you. Don't feel bad when people try to make you feel bad because you don't want to do something they want to do. Like, of course there's times where there's going to be a little compromise, you know, for people who care about your loved ones, because we're not all going to be the same. But in moderation. It is getting a little dark in here. A little sensuous. Got the candles lit up in here. I was talking about this one recently, but for my 17th lesson, don't be active for a nice body, be active for a healthy one. This is honestly one of the most new lessons that I have learned recently, and honestly it has been inspired by the amount of women that I have been seeing showing up on social media, 90-year-olds that don't look like what you would think 90 would look like, running up and down, squatting, running upstairs. I feel like we are doing such a good job nowadays at proving to ourselves and the world, especially as women, that your life is not over at a certain age. Some people say it's as young as 30, it's as young as 50, but really it's as young as you make it to be. For years, up until recently, I've really been working out like for vanity things. Like I want like a bigger butt, or just to be more shapely, or I want abs. And of course, anything extra that's gonna motivate me to work out is a cherry on top. But I feel like one thing that makes me want to work out even more is the fact that if I work out now, it is what's going to keep me healthy and keep me mobile when I'm older. I feel like that has been way more motivating than having a nice body ever has been. Because there's some days where I am like, I don't care. I don't even want a nice body. But there's never a day where I tell myself, I don't want to live a good life. I don't want to be able to move around. And so I feel like that has been a lot more helpful on getting me to go and get some movement in. My 18th lesson, I put, if you always feel overwhelmed, maybe you're moving too fast. So take a step back. I felt like I always was having anxiety. I felt like I was always just running. And I feel like a lot of people have this feeling. And I think obviously our society is much faster, and we're taught like work is the #1 thing. Why are you sitting on the couch? You should never be sitting on the couch. Like, you gotta grind. You gotta go and get it. But that's just not the case. Work is important because we have to work in order to get the things that we want, in order to live. But play is also important. Rest is also important. So please take some time every single day, no matter how overworked you are, because y'all don't even want to know what my schedule is looking like this weekend. But I'm still finding some time to like take a little bit of time for myself, whether it's only like 30 minutes. I'm going to take some time to slow down because your body, it needs it. You don't want to wait until you ran your body into the floor and it just shuts down on you, because it happens. If your mind is always racing 24/7, it's a sign you need to slow down. 19th lesson, your home is your sanctuary. And I feel like that sounds like, obviously, like it's my home if you live alone, or like if you help and pitch in for the home that you're in. You're like, I paid for this. it's mine. Or even if you have a room, just whatever is considered yours, it is yours. But what I mean when I say that is, it's yours. Don't let anybody else influence your space. I feel like that's something I majorly had to learn. This is the first apartment, you guys. You know, I've been doing my apartment videos and you guys have been seeming to love them more than any apartment videos I've ever done. And the number one reason is probably because I'm doing it how I want to do it. Now, in my last apartment, my first apartment I ever had by myself, the one up in Chicago, I felt like I was looking at a lot of like what other people were doing. And number one, it's because I had no clue, okay? I had never had my own apartment, so like that's fair. You're probably gonna go through that phase if it's your first apartment. But I wasn't doing what I truly wanted to do with that apartment at all. There was just nothing really about it, decor wise, that sparked joy in me. I didn't feel like very safe and happy all the time in there. And I feel like the way that I'm decorating and filling my space now is exactly that. I only put things in here that fill me with joy. Somebody was asking me on my Instagram how I was able to curate my vision for my apartment and like how I even decided how I wanted to decorate it. Mood boards have helped a lot, obviously, but of course that can go too far itself. You don't want to take one picture of somebody's home and be like, I'm gonna create exactly this. I feel like the biggest thing that's been helping me curate a happy space that just feels so comfy, that makes me just endlessly happy, is just filling it with things that spark joy in me. The best thing I ever could have done for my space was fill it with things that I think are beautiful. And if you're worried about it matching, don't worry about it matching. It's all gonna match because it's beautiful and it makes you happy. You will never be truly happy, truly content in a space that wasn't curated for you and by you. Okay, for number 20, I put being willing to apologize to anyone, children, adults, friends, partners. I feel like it's important and it should never be glazed over, the importance of it. In the Black community, it's a really big thing, and it was like even being joked about like on Instagram, and I get it, like haha, like let's laugh at our trauma, but it was a really big thing to grow up and your parents do something to you and the way they apologize is they ask you if you want something to eat downstairs or they ask you if you want to run to McDonald's real quick. But one thing that I have learned just with anybody that you care about in your life, apologies are very important. It is way better than that person just brewing over what you've done, them never forgiving you. We can't just go through life just thinking like, oh, people know our heart and we don't need to bring it up. It makes me uncomfortable when I have to bring up an apology, but I just think it just makes everything better. That other person is going to respect you more for it, and y'all are going to have a better relationship. I don't care if it's a child. Like, and I say this as a former teacher, children respect that a lot. I think a big thing with us growing up was adults saw it as like not their place to apologize, and that children should stay in their place and never expect like an apology from an adult. But in my experience, that does not mess with the respect that you receive from a child. In fact, in my experience, it definitely increased it. I think everybody in this world deserves respect, so give it and be willing to apologize and stand up for your mistakes. For my 21st lesson, we've got a lot of integrity lessons, y'all. I wrote always go high. What's that Michelle Obama quote? It's like when they go low, we go high, something like that. When you hold grudges, when you take the low road, when you try to get back at somebody, try to be petty, it just ends up being way worse on yourself. I've learned that the biggest thing you can do that really just gets under people's skin or really just leaves them feeling empty is you gotta go high. And whether that is just not entertaining the BS that people try to serve you, or even if you have to completely ignore these people and act like they don't exist, that is going to be way better. Because you know why? If they are somebody who's really trying to get you, do you wrong, get under your skin, it's going to mess with them so much more if you don't say anything at all, if you go about your business and your life and leave them in the dust, okay? Because now they're sitting at home wondering, why didn't they care enough to at least say this back to me or do this back to me? And they're going to be in their own head and you're going to be moving on, not even wasting the energy, okay? We only get so much energy. I say take it and use it for something good. When you keep good energy, you'll just be a happier person. When you keep bad, petty energy, you're just gonna be a miserable person. That's like my biggest thing. Like nowadays, I'm the absolute queen of, I just don't care that much. I'm sorry. I care about me way more than I care about this person. Like, you got it. If your goal was to never see me again, you got it, okay? Wish complete. I'm granting wishes over here. My 22nd lesson: don't feel the need to always have something elaborate to say or a response. I feel like I used to feel this need a lot growing up, and it could draw back to, I got a lot of comments growing up. People would say things, and this is a deep insecurity of mine, you guys, so I'm really spilling the tea today. But people would say, like, make jokes about, like, you're slow, or things like this. Like, if I answer a question wrong, or if I don't understand something. And so I felt like for a lot of years, I would respond just to have a response, whether it be in a regular conversation, whether it be in school. And I was not dumb by any means, but I'm not gonna sit here and tell you, like, that I'm the quickest at like street sense, okay? I've got some, like a sector of street sense, but I ain't gonna tell you I got it all. I have been told that I am more book smart than I am street smart. But I feel like in the end, in turn, it made me feel like I always needed to have an answer prepared, always have something to say, and always say it quickly so people don't think I'm slow for not having something to say quickly. And there's no use in doing that, because now at that point I was just spewing out words just to say something. At this point, even if I'm in a conversation with friends and we're having like a group discussion about something, I don't care if I'm the only person not talking. If I don't have anything to say, I'm not going to add something. If I feel like I don't have anything to add to the conversation, I'm not about to talk just to talk. But that also goes with responses. When somebody asks you a question or asks something of you, don't be afraid to like sit there and show yourself thinking, okay? Like, it's way better than you coming out and saying the wrong thing or saying something truly stupid. You know, it's okay to sit there and think about your responses, or say nothing at all, or even be upfront. Just be like, I don't know. Like, it's okay to just not know. Number 23, in the words of Maya Angelou, when they show you who you are, believe them. Oh, I feel like this is a cliche lesson, and everybody will say, like, a lot of us know this lesson, but we really not listening to it. It's in the smallest ways that people can show you who they are. You can learn who a friend is in the way that they speak about their other friends when they speak to you. Look at them when they are upset, when they are not getting their way. You're gonna see who they are. And the thing is, you know, you got to give everybody grace. We all have bad days, but pay attention to those people that repeat the bad day. It's another thing to that just be who you are at the core. For me personally, I've got a few rules myself. If somebody litters, I don't know, I don't trust people who throw trash out the window, because I feel like you don't even care about you. Like, you live in this world and you just you just threw a McDonald's bag out the window. I have not been wrong yet. Everybody that I've seen do something like that, in some manner of life, they were trifling. If this is you, stop it right now. Take a good look at yourself. Another little example is seeing how they treat like people who are quote unquote under them. Somebody who is like waitressing at a restaurant. Like, yes, are they there to serve you? Are they there to help you with your needs? Yes. But they are still a person. They still deserve respect. It's not a situation that calls for you being disrespectful for in any way or responding nasty in any way. I just look at people in these situations. Like, just always pay attention to how people treat people when they are lower than them, when they are angry at them, and believe them when they show you that. Another example is with relationships. I hear women and like girls say all the time, like, I want a man who's mean. Like, I don't want a nice man. I want him to be mean and only nice to me. Well, baby girl, if that's what you want, there's gonna be a day he's gonna get mad with you. That mean that you see him treat every other woman but you with, that's gonna be you. He's not gonna be happy with you every day. So when people show you who they are, believe them. Number 24, you have time. You just haven't made it. And this is honestly at myself. And honestly one that I'm still teaching myself, because I still am in the habit of saying, I don't have time. I hear it all the time from people, like when they say they want to create content, but they have a job and they don't have time to create content on the side. You have the time. Don't say you don't have time. You have the time. You just don't want to wake up earlier to get it. You don't want to miss out on the fun on the weekend to go and chase it. Because for my example that I mentioned, with becoming a creator on the side, I don't even know how I did it looking back, because maybe if I did what I was doing then now, I would pass out. But
I guess I really wanted it really badly. I would work over 40 hours during the week because, you know, when you're a teacher, you gotta work at home too. So I was definitely working over 40 hours. And I was also putting in that time at nights when I got home from work, recording videos, editing videos. I wasn't going anywhere on the weekend. I was working on my content so I could become a full-time creator. You have time. You're not willing to get it out the mud. Okay, and for my 25th lesson, because I am 25. No, I'm just kidding. It's okay, we're getting older. Lesson number 25, an abundance attitude and outlook is key. For the most part, I try to look at life in an abundance mindset, and that just means like really try not to be negative so much. Like, even when it comes to things like money, I don't ever say things like, I'm broke, I don't have the money to do that, I'm not able to do that because I don't have this. Like, no, we are not speaking out of lack. And this is something that I learned from one of you guys, and this may have been in one of my lessons last year, but now I'm expanding it to things like more than just money. It's really just anything. For example, it's more so like with the future that I want to live. You guys know I've told you I really want a garden, but I don't look at my life and say, ugh, I'm not there yet, so I can't be happy yet. I don't look at it in lack. I look at what I do have around me, and that's why I'm starting a garden on my balcony. It's just thinking in more of like an abundance attitude. It will get you much further than talking about all the things that you currently don't have. If you keep that energy, you will never have it. I'm telling you, when they said Delulu is the Salulu, it doesn't sound very smart, but the best thing you can do for yourself is just act like you're already there. Have that same mindset, like you're already where you want to be.
We've made it. Lesson number 27. And this lesson is so simple, but I feel like it is the lesson that has probably helped me get the most back to myself. And that lesson is the outdoors is healing. And it's what many of us are missing. I've mentioned in this video a few times, but I feel like so many of us just feel like we have so much anxiety, so much pent-up stress. I think a big thing we have just all been missing for longer than even just 2020 is not going outside. And I realized this when I kind of started getting back to myself and doing things that I loved again. One of those things was being outside. I've just seen how much of a difference it has made in my life, how much happier I am. Them saying you need vitamin D, they were serious apparently, because I feel like I glow different. I feel like I'm just happier. I feel like I have more energy. Like, wow, being outside. But I feel like society has really just been trying to find the best way to just turn us into robots and really disconnect us from like Earth when we ourselves are Earth. And I recommend everybody do it. Like, some people say they don't love the outdoors, but I think at our core as humans, the outdoors is such a vital part. You just have to kind of find like the type of outdoors that works for you. Even me myself, I'm not a camping girl, but I'm a glamping girl. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I really hope you enjoyed it. I know it was a little different, but I just had some things to share with y'all. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it. And you already know I will see you in my next video. I love you so much.